Injury report, we've got word back on R.J. Grigsby. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, so that's good, with a lower leg injury. And Legend Cavazos is out 4 to 6 weeks, which is really good. We were afraid that he was out for the year. So that's what happened with Antoine Green last year at this time of the year, and he actually played against Notre Dame in the 4th or 5th week. So that's great news with both of those young guys. We've got a lot of guys that, like everybody else in the country, that are banged up for preseason practice, and some are in, some are out. You get one day, and then one's sick, and one's got a sore ankle, and one's got a sore hamstring. So a lot of that going on, so we don't report the day-to-days to you because they may be back tomorrow and they may be out for 3 days. It's just what we've got. Today was a heat index day. It was 88 to 90 something degrees. We worked outside most of the practice because they've got to get used to the heat. The first 3 games we'll have will be in heat. We've got 7:30 in Charlotte on the turf. We've got 5:15 at home with App State, and we've got 3:30 with Minnesota. So we're going to have to be in the heat without question. Energy's been good. Focus is good. It's an older team. I told you I didn't like our energy and our focus 2 years ago. Last year I thought we had good energy and focus, and we did. This year's better because we got older guys, and the older guys get it. They've been good. They want to be great. So we've told them every day that's what you got to do. You got to separate, and you got to do the little things right. We talked about C.L. Shepard coming and speaking. One of the things he said is we take for granted the little things, and they're so easy we don't do them right, and we don't step right, and we don't stay on snap count right. So it's just a false start. Well, that could kill you in a ball game. So we're working really hard to do all the little things right that we need to do to get better. Some of the guys working with the white team are moving up and working with the blue team. We've been working them a lot more together, and it gives you a better look at a guy that hasn't made the elite team yet, and how many plays you think he can play. And I'm asking the coaches in the scrimmage to give me the projected number of plays that they're going to play, and then make sure you hit that projection during a scrimmage, so we can start actually visually going through the routine that we would have in a game, because substitution's so hard, and it's so much harder now that you've got tempo, because defense can't substitute. I mean, as long as the ball is in play, the defense can't substitute. So it's very, very difficult to get a big guy out of the game when somebody's going fast and moving the ball. The focus on the offense, defense, special teams is the same. We want to run the ball better, and we've been doing that. I really like what I'm seeing in our running game. We got a great group of backs, probably 4 or 5 that could play just about anywhere. Limit sacks. We've still given up too many sacks, which means for a head coach you're miserable about something every day, but it means we're rushing the passer better. So I like that, and we'll talk about that in a second. Tackles for loss. We have fewer tackles for loss with our blue team, and we have done okay in red zone offense. So all those things I feel like are progressing. Defensively, we've had more pressure. We've had more sacks. I still don't like what I'm seeing against the run. We've got to step up and do a better job stopping the run. And when you're working against a team on offense that's running the ball good, somebody's going to be walking out of here mad. So you can't please everybody. So, but we've got to improve against the run, which we know. We're getting more sacks. We're getting more tackles for loss. We need to force more turnovers. It means the offense is protecting the ball. We've done that since we've been here. But the defense has still got to, we've had a few interceptions, but we're not knocking balls loose. So we've got to knock balls loose. And red zone defense has been okay. It needs to improve. We feel like we've improved in our kicking game. Our kickers have been inconsistent. Our punters have been good. But we're working kicking game every day. And in the scrimmage the other day, we worked every phase live, and we worked it hard. We haven't done that always. A couple of position group thoughts. Connor Harrell's progressing. He's really improved, and we like what we see with him. We're working really hard on our quarterbacks getting the ball out of their hands. We've had too many sacks since we've been here. We've held the ball some. We get rid of it. We've got Clyde Christensen here that can show the guys Tom Brady video, and he got rid of the ball as quick as anybody in the country, and wasn't a guy that could run real fast, but he could shuffle his feet and get rid of the ball. So we're putting some of that on the quarterback. Running back battle's great. British Brooks has come back and looked really, really good. Caleb Hood's been healthy, and when he's healthy, he's been as good as anybody. And then Omarion Hampton's much more comfortable. Elijah Green started most of last year. So all those guys are good. And then you've got George Pettaway that's playing some in the slot now and at running back, so he's doing both because he's valuable, and we need him to be on the field some. Wide receiver rotation, we got some young ones that we're looking at. I'll talk about that in a second. And a few of the guys have been hurt. Depth in the offensive line, I can talk about when we look at depth chart as well. Okay, when I look at the depth chart, to help you guys, Diego Pounds is working some with the blue team at tackle. He's actually alternating, and that's important that we gain depth in the offensive line. Jonathan Adorno is working with the blue team some at guard. He's rotating in with Willie Lampkin and Ed Montelis. Ed's got his wrist fixed. He had a bad wrist last year, and he's playing much, much better. We said R.J. Grigsby will be back in 4 to 6 weeks. Willie Lampkin is playing backup center behind Corey Gaynor, along with Chance Carroll. So Willie's playing actually at guard and center. Willie's been a really good addition for us. We're excited that he's here and like what we see. So we said Willie'd play guard. Zach Rice and Travion Green are making improvement. They're getting some work, a lot with the whites, a little bit with the blues. So we need for them to keep coming because Travion had the hurt pec in the spring, had a hurt knee before we started in the fall, so he's been limited some, but we do think he'll be a good player. We said Connor Harrell's improved. Chris Culliver looks really good. You got to learn what to do. He's been here a month. But he's big, he's tall, he's fast, he's everything that we thought he was. He and Christian Hamilton both have looked really, really good in practice. And Doc Chapman stepped up. He struggled catching the ball until about a week ago, and something clicked for him, and he's caught the ball and been really good in space and looked very good in the scrimmage the other day. So we're excited about him. Defensively, Bo Atkinson stepped up. He's going to play some, so we're pleased with Des Evans. He's back to where he was before he got hurt. He's rushing the passer. He's playing with a lot of heart, but Bo will get some plays for us. Great to have Tamari Fox back. He's quick. He's explosive. We need explosive power up front. We need to penetrate. We need tackles for loss. He can do all that, so he is helping us. Amari Campbell right now would be the third linebacker. He's going to be a good player for us. And Amari would come in at either linebacker right now, so he'd be the third guy to play if Said or Power came out. And if Said came out, Amari would play instead of Power, and Power would move over and take Said's place. So those three are alternating. We need a fourth linebacker at some point. Tayon Holloway has been very, very impressive at corner. He's healthy. He's up to 189 pounds. Elijah Huzzy, Tayon Holloway, and Marcus Allen right now would be the three corners that would rotate. And we've had some guys out at safety, so we've got enough safeties, but we've got to get them back on the field and make sure that they all get enough work before the opening game, because safety is a position we've got to play better. Caleb Cost has done some good things at the star position, the nickel position. He plays older. He's very experienced for a young guy. He plays like he's experienced. And then we said Legend Cavazos would be that fourth corner, and he's out for 4 to 6 weeks as we look at him. A couple of things, really the only rule change that really would matter most to you all would be they're going to run the clock after first downs, except for the last 2 minutes of the half and the last 2 minutes at the end of the game. And that's going to take out, we feel like, 7 to 9 plays a game. I didn't agree with it. I think fans want to see guys play. You got 120 guys. It's hard to get them all in the game anyway, so I hated to take plays away from fans and take plays away from players, but I wasn't asked. So, but that's pretty much, they won't let you call back-to-back timeouts anymore, so you can't ice a kicker. So if you call a timeout and the kicker goes out to kick, you can call one timeout, but you can't call 2 timeouts in a row to ice him. So they changed that rule. again. I don't know why, but they did. Um, and then roughing the kicker. There was a roughing the kicker penalty at the Kentucky-Vanderbilt game where the punter lost the ball, ran back in the end zone, tried to kick it. Somebody ran into him. They called it a flag and gave him an automatic first down. So they've changed that now. If he is outside of the tackle box, if he's running, if he loses the ball, if he's got the ball for more than 5 yards after he catches it, you cannot rough the punter. And that's another rule that's changed. The last thing before I open it up to questions is we still haven't heard any word on Tez Walker's situation. The NCAA's had a tough 3 years. There's been a lot of changes and things now that since they've been changed we got to fix, and we continue to fix them. I really like what I see with President Charlie Baker coming in from the governor's position at Massachusetts. There's already been some changes that are good. I hear that we've got more changes that are coming, and one of the changes that needs to happen is the way we handle mental health. We have a committee that sits up there that never talks to Tez, never talks to his grandmother, never talks to our doctors, never talks to the mental health people on our campus, never talks to our chaplain, who Tez talks to every day and feels really guilty that he's brought negative attention to our program, which he shouldn't, but he does, and he's really struggling. I see him crying after practice. He came over to me and said, "Have you heard anything?" And he does every day. And if you look at it, number one, he's only played at one school. That's different than a lot of these other guys. He's only played at Kent State. The second thing, and maybe most importantly, is one of the most important things, is that the school that the young man transfers from writes a letter that says they agreed that he needed to transfer for his mental health. And Kent State did that. Most of these guys that are out there, the school that they're leaving didn't want them to leave. Kent State understood. He lost his head coach. He lost his position coach. He lost his offensive coordinator, and his grandmother hadn't seen him play. So he comes here thinking he's going to play, and they changed the rule 2 days after he enrolled in school, which is not fair to him either. He didn't have all the information in transferring. And then at the spring game, his grandmother got to come and see him. They had 30 family members at the spring game because he's from Charlotte. So as I look at it, I see a mental health issue. I see it at the highest level, and I can't imagine that some committee that's sitting up in Indianapolis with doors closed that has never met this kid doesn't have to step up and really look at mental health if we're worried about student athlete welfare like we say we are, and if we're worried about mental health like we say we are. Because you're taking away his opportunity to play. You're taking away a guy's opportunity to play that's on the watch list for the best receiver in the country. You're taking away an opportunity for a guy to play in the NFL. So you're taking away opportunity for compensation, and you're taking away, most importantly, he needed to be back close to home, and he needed his grandmother to see him play for the first time ever. So I'm banking on Charlie Baker. If we are changing, it's time to change, and I'm banking on him stepping up and changing because it's what's best for this young man. It's not about us. He is a good player, but if I say that I'm going to take care of every player and treat them like I'd want my son to be treated, that's what I'm trying to do in this situation. Tez needs to be able to play. That's the only fair thing for him, and people need to stand up for it because that's an area we need to get changed. We went from everybody being eligible to now nobody's eligible. That's not, neither one of them are fair. Neither one of them are right. So let's do what's right for the NCAA. Let's don't say we care about student welfare, and let's don't say that we care about mental health unless we do. And here's a great opportunity to show that we do.
Matt Cooper wrote to Charlie Baker. Have you heard anything about that?
No.
What kind of contact can you get with anybody?
We've told them all our story, Art, and that's about all we can do. I can't do anything else. But the story is there. It's obvious. And it doesn't need to be a check mark blanket. We're not letting people transfer. It needs to be a mental health issue that we look very, very carefully at. We got more mental health issues right now with kids in our country than ever before. And we need to take it very seriously, and we need to look at it very seriously. And this is a serious case in my estimation.
Aside from Tez, what are a couple of primary concerns you have now that you're a little more than halfway through fall camp and you see the
we've had too many sacks here for 4 years, and I've told Chip and Freddie and Larry Porter, I'm not going to go through another season with a bunch of sacks. We got a great quarterback, protect him. And part of it's him getting the ball out of the hands. Part of it's Connor getting the ball out of the hands. That's the quarterback's job. But if we run better, it'll help. But I'm not going to spend another year with a bunch of sacks. So that is a key. It's been a goal for 4 years, 4.5. It was a goal in the spring. And then the other day in the scrimmage, we still had too many. So it's got to get fixed.
You talked to Chip on Friday, and he said, when asked about getting the 8 deep on the offensive line, which aren't there yet. There's been a lot of inconsistency throughout. How big is a concern is the lack of consistency throughout that group?
I think the tackles have been inconsistent. The inside guys have played good. So, and we've been inconsistent in the offensive line since we've been here. So we need to fix it. We've played with 5 or 6 every year we've been here. So you don't shut the season down if you don't have 8. You'd like to have 8, and more than anything else, you lose 3 or 4 of these for next year. So you got to have an offensive line that can step in next year as well. And that's why it's important that you see a guy like Travion Green step up. You see a guy like Diego Pound step up. And they are showing great ability at times and then inconsistency at times. And what we've got to do is just get consistent. And that's normal with young offensive linemen.
Sorry about that. To go back to Tez, can you give us some more insight on how you went about the appeals process? Like, what sort of materials you tried to get together? What sort of presentation you tried to make?
Yeah. And
also, just to go along with that, do you think you're not going to hear from the NCAA until they make a ruling on his appeal? I mean, do you think you're not going to be in contact with them?
Yeah, Pat can help me with this as I go through. Number one, we got information from doctors, chaplain, mental health people, Kent State, same thing, people outside of our department that he's met with. We got information from his family that have talked about how serious this is and how much we need it. We're pleading with the NCAA to make a decision because it puts more pressure on the young guy every day. It's not us. We'll be able to play if he doesn't play. We'll have somebody ready. But for him, if you can imagine what he has on the line and the mental health issues and him having to wait to find out every day, so we don't know when we're going to hear from him.
So
is that fair, Pat? Yes.
So the first time you hear from them might be when they say yay or nay.
Yeah, we don't. They don't have discussion with me, and I don't call them. They wouldn't answer if I did. So.
Do you have a time frame on when you might get an answer?
No, they don't have a time frame on when they look at these cases.
Mack, I know you said that you heard back a few weeks ago. Do you remember what the day was when the initial waiver was first sent in?
Do you remember when we were told that the waiver was denied? Has that been 10 days around? About 2 weeks.
Do you remember when you first submitted it to the agency?
When would we have submitted it? Like a month, like June? Way before that, so it was in the spring.
In the spring, okay.
Does it make it tougher that because everything's kind of flipped now, there's not much precedent to kind of look at to sort of help?
There is precedent to look at. If you say, I care about student welfare, if you say, I care about mental health, this is a classic student welfare mental health situation. So it is, period. On top of it, he made a decision. They changed the rule 2 days after he was admitted to school. So he couldn't go back. And then Kent State has sent a letter that says it's in his best interest that he transfer here. That's pretty powerful. That's not happening in many places because they were worried about him and they wanted him to get back home.
Is UNC prepared if you get a ruling back and they don't clear him to continue working?
I can't answer that. I guess we're looking at, we've never been through this, so we're looking at what's next.
Tez would have the right to pursue
Mack, on the offensive line, what is the challenge to build consistency and chemistry while giving guys enough reps in that 8?
Tommy, we're practicing so much. We got plenty of time for everybody. We're over there all day, every day. We get over there at 6:30 in the morning. We leave here about 10 at night, and so there a lot of guys can get a lot of reps. So I'm not worried about that. I think they're and that's the other thing. We're working them together a whole lot, and we're working like Diego, white and blue. So he's working with both. And then we've worked William Barnes some at right guard. So we cross-train, and with injuries, Jack Bicknell taught me one thing. They only play with 7 in the NFL. And one guy has to play right guard and right tackle. If they get one hurt, the guy may have to play center. That's a guard. So 5's enough, 6 is enough, as long as you stay healthy. But we'd rather have 8, and more than anything else, we'd rather also start working toward building our offensive line for next year. Amari, he's a lot like Power. He's quick. He's a hitter. He's been really, really mature. He was here for the spring, so it's like a sophomore by the time you've been through spring practice, and he absolutely loves to play. He will light them up now. He is. We have to pull him off. So I love the kid. He's going to be a great player for us.
Going back to the offensive line, how important has Corey Gaynor been, his leadership, especially given he's one of the older guys on the team and, with the offensive line as well?
Corey Gaynor's been a godsend. He's tough. He's smart. He's driven. He's got such respect from the other young people that he can call them out. We call it call them up instead of calling them out. But he can walk over there and say, that's not good enough. Get your head up and let's go back to work. And they listen. So he is what we need in the middle. He and Drake are true cogs to the leadership of this team. And you got to be strong down the middle, and we are. We're strong at running back, we're strong at center, and we're strong at quarterback, and that really helps us.
Mack, you said a couple of years ago that you can't really tell if your team's going to be ready to play the first game. Is that harder now than it was?
I think that's what you heard. What I said was you never know how good you're going to be because you're playing against each other. We don't have preseason games. We've got enough NFL guys on our staff right now that they said it's such a great advantage when you can go play some guys against other guys. You don't have to game plan, but at least you can see how they're going to respond. We can't tell how Amari Campbell's going to respond. He's never played in a college football game. I remember when I got here, we played Chaz Surratt in his first game ever at linebacker against South Carolina, and we didn't have enough people to tackle him. We had a thud in practice. He had never tackled in a game. And I remember he missed a running back in the third play, and Jay Bateman screamed at him. I said, he said, he missed a tackle. I said, he's never had a tackle. I mean, God, man, give it up. And then Storm Duck goes in as a freshman at corner because somebody got knocked out, had a concussion, and Storm, who got turned down by South Carolina, went out and played the whole corner against South Carolina. So what you do is everybody can say they think they know who their team is. If you're playing somebody that you're going to beat, you pretty much know who they are because it's easy. If you're playing a great team like South Carolina, you have no idea how they're going to respond until you get out there. I'm sorry, Adam had one chip before.
Well, you did say, not to contradict Art, but you did say like you remember the Virginia Tech thing, you had a bad feeling.
Oh, I think you know if they're not. We didn't practice good. We look bad. So I knew that. I don't know that you know when you're good. We have the ability to be good. We have older players. We're practicing well. They got to play well. But we have a chance.
You didn't tell us you were scared to death before going to Blacksburg.
Oh, yeah. I told everybody every day, and nobody wanted to listen. Because we were 8th in the country, and media knows more than the coach. I mean, I was in media for 5 years, so I got it. So, yes.
I was going to ask you, can a win over a team like South Carolina set the tone for the season, something like that, or is it just an opener? I mean,
No,
there's a lot of work after that.
yeah. A win would set the tone. A loss doesn't kill you because a lot of people think you're going to get beat anyway. And you'll know who your team is, and then you got App State coming right in. We only gave up 61 to them last year, so they're not a threat, right? And then you got Minnesota coming in, who was 9-4 last year and won another bowl game. So we've got our hands full. The great thing about this schedule is we'll know who we are after week 3 before we go to Pittsburgh and start the conference schedule.
Mack,
There are no give-me's in there.
Can you update us on DeAndre Boykins, Stick Lane, and Will Hardy? Are they back at practice now? Are they not back at practice? Timetables, just how they're doing?
Yeah, none of the 3 are practicing. They're stepping through. They're doing things. We feel like all 3 have a chance to play in the first game.
Okay, but there is some. It's not a surefire thing.
We feel like they all have a chance to play in the first game.
Matt,
You ought to talk to our doctors and trainers. That would help you understand. I never have an answer.
Matt,
So what do you think? He's doing better. So how long do you think? I don't know. Just depends on how he's going to respond. So that's what I get, Dr. Smith.
Thank you.
Yes.
Matt, what were some of the other things that stood out to you Saturday through the scrimmage?
We're fast. We're playing the ball better at corner. We only gave up 3 explosive plays, which is totally unlike last year on defense, which again worries you more that we need to get more explosive plays on offense. But they're really competing. They're getting along. We've got to get depth at linebacker. We haven't gotten that yet. We've had some guys that are out, not to keep them out for the game again, but they're out, don't get to practice. So that's hurt us with creating our depth at linebacker. We talked about the depth in the offensive line. I was looking at this for you all. Most of the offensive guys have played. There'll be the 2 transfers are new, a couple of freshmen. It's pretty much the same offense we've had out there for a while. So when you talk about those guys, you pretty much know who they are. Defensively, there's some new guys. All 3 corners as such. Marcus played a little bit at the end of last year, but Tayon hasn't played and Huzzy hadn't played. So those guys are all new. We got to do better at safety. And that's why we got to get those guys well so they can tackle and fit and do the things they need to do. I am encouraged about our pass rush. I am encouraged better about tackles for a loss. I still think we give up too many big runs. We've got to stop things in that area.
Matt, where does that level of discernment kind of kick in? For example, you said, the defense limited explosive plays, but the offense needs to get more explosive plays, or even, up front, getting more sacks. We need to stop giving up sacks. Where does that come in where it's like, okay, this is more of something this unit is doing well, and, this is something that this unit needs to improve?
The most important thing is at this point in preseason, you don't have game plans. So you don't game plan against your own defense. So if our tackle can't block Kamen Rucker, you'd have to have somebody help him. So what we're trying to do is see what they can do without help. And then after you see what they can do without help, then you get a game plan that will help it. So we're not going to have sacks, but we may have to take different precautions to prepare ourselves not to.
And some of those younger guys you brought up, Diego, Trevion Green, one word you brought up with them was consistency as far as their line play. What's kind of the next step for them to get that level of consistency?
Young guys aren't as consistent as older ones. Older ones have been through this. A great example is we had a 75-play scrimmage, and then the next day we had a hard practice. And we did it on purpose to see who could scrimmage and be excited and come back and do it the next day. Some of the guys we're talking about didn't play near as good the second day because they were excited about one day and couldn't get it back in a position where they created an edge the next day. And that's what I told them today. You're showing, I don't want to hear you, you're showing us every day who can do this and who can do it at a high level. Love all of you, but some of you can play longer and more and better than others. And what we've got to do is decide who can play number of plays based on how you practice every day, not what we hear. I want to play. All of them want to play. I want to play in the NFL. All of them want to play in the NFL. Who prepares? And that's the difference.
Matt, you mentioned the depth at running back. How do you determine, is it situational who play and what it may be like? Is it a kind of a good problem to have?
Yeah, it's a great situation, and it'll sound like coaching jargon, but it's not. Preseason is to figure out who stays healthy. We're pressing them all hard, and then figure out a skill set. Just like we know George is good in space with the ball in his hands. So let's work out ways to get him at slot, even if it's at running back motioning to slot. If he's better out there than he is inside, let's play to his strengths. And you look at it, British and Caleb Hood and Omarion are all big-bodied guys. Elijah Green's a big back, but he's not as big, but he's real fast. So we've got to figure out in the overall scheme of things with our game plans who fits in there. And then you go back, Coach Moody coached running backs here and for me for a long time. And at one point we would go 5 plays with one and then bring another one in and go 5 plays. And then if there was a hot hand, he stayed in. And he'd played with the Leon Johnsons and the Curtis Johnsons and the Natron Means and the Randy Jordans because we had great backs. So we're trying to figure out what is that mix now. Do you leave them in? If you leave them in a series and you go 3 and out, and then the next guy goes 12, it's not fair. So you've just got to look and who's best in short yardage, who's best on the goal line. So we're working really hard every day in this preseason practice to try to figure those things out.
Mac, I'm doing a story on Drew Little, and he's been here since you've been here, and he's practically made every start. What is his consistency and longevity at a really difficult position meant to this program?
Drew's the first deep snapper that I've ever had on scholarship to start with. Larry offered him a scholarship, and I thought, never offered a deep snapper before. And he's had a great snap every time since he's been here. And he's gotten bigger and he's gotten stronger, and he's really a force in our coverage now. He's a leader, he's confident. So Drew's sure earned his scholarship. He's been more than worth it.
Mac, who are some guys that in the event Tez might be ineligible, that in that wide receiver room that you're confident can step up and fill that void?
You know, when you look at those guys, you've got J.J. Jones has played a lot. You've got Gavin Blackwell. You've got Kobe Pesor. Make sure I don't miss one. You've got Christian Hamilton. You've got Andre Green. Doc Chapman stepping up, and then you've got Nate McCullum. So we got enough. It's just you. And the issue with Tez, we'd like to have him because he's got a chance to be really good, but it's more about him and his mental health than it is us.
Mac, is all this still fun for you?
It is. You know it is fun and it's a lot of work. Sally said I like chaos. I don't think I do, but I like fixing things. And preseason camp is the most important time for a head coach as far as his team is concerned. Obviously recruiting and decision making, all that stuff's important. But to have them out here the right amount of time, have them in the heat the right amount of time, hit enough that they're ready to hit against South Carolina but not get them hurt, run enough that they're in great shape but not be too tired. I mean, it's a load. So you have to look at, I'll go and watch an hour and a half of video to watch every one of them run and see we're supposed to scrimmage tomorrow. Do we need to scrimmage tomorrow? If not, we change it and back it off a day. And how long do we need to scrimmage? And how many plays does said Gray need? Or does he need to scrimmage? So you got to get the ones that are inexperienced that you're trying to evaluate, you got to get them a lot of work without them getting hurt. The older ones that are great, you got to keep them and getting better, but you want your best horses at the gate ready to go and fresh and healthy. So we're dealing with all that every day, and that's sensitive with assistant coaches because you're saying, I don't want Kamen Rucker out there as much tomorrow. And he said, well, you won't pass rush. And he's my best pass rusher. I said, yeah, we're not playing tomorrow. So hold him out, get him 15 plays, get him 25 plays, but then get him over there and let him coach. So it's that kind of stuff you deal with.
Jack, I got time for 2 more.
And everybody gets tired. Coaches are tired, players are tired. We're halfway through camp. That's the 11th practice. We've got 8 more before game week. So this is the tiredest time that your team will ever be, and therefore every day you look up and see injuries across the country, and that's why they're scrimmaging and practicing tired, and that's when they get hurt, and that's the difficult decision making.
Mac, George Pettaway has looked looked like a kind of a change of pace guy since he got here. With you talking about using him more in the passing game, maybe motioning him into the slot, I mean, does that sort of put him in that role?
Yes.
As a change of pace guy as opposed to maybe a lead guy?
Yes, and he can be a lead guy at that position with those things. But our job as coaches is try to lean heavily on whatever they do best.
Right.
So put the ball in their hands where they have the best chance to be successful. And right now we feel like this is his best chance to help him help our team.
Mac, you want to play fast and score a lot. You all put emphasis on running game, but you also want to keep South Carolina off the field a little bit, right? So you want to hold the ball a little bit. Is that all factored into the first game plan?
Yeah, again, that's a difficult decision. Do you slow the game down and keep it out of their hands because they're very explosive at wide receiver, running back, and they've got a great quarterback like Drake? Or do you go fast and try to wear them out? And if you go fast and get a 3 and out, then you're giving it back to them, and if they keep it a long time, you're worn out. So tempo is something that we all talk about, but when do you need it? How much do you need it? Are you wearing them out, or are they deep enough on defense? It doesn't matter. And if you're 3 and out, does it hurt your defense? I do think with our offense here, we've hurt our defense some because we've had too many lost plays on first down and had to punt. And then as good as our offense has been, we've left our defense out on the field too much. So that's another thing that we feel like the running game will help. And we're trying. We went a tempo scrimmage at the end for 16 plays. And it was just to absolutely make our guys run and be more prepared for tempo, both sides of the ball.